Okay, we are back. Take
Take
two.
two.
I put down the title, Take Two. All right, Jessica Hines, EXP Realty with Angela Keith with Stearns Loans. There. All right, HELOC versus refinancing, starting again.
Okay, so HELOC, home equity line of credit. Refinance means that you are taking your current first mortgage, and a home equity line of credit is a second mortgage. Unless you own your house out free and clear, then the home equity line of credit takes first position or first lien. So there's a difference to do that way. A home equity line of credit sometimes can be fixed, but are more likely to be adjustable rate mortgages, which means the rate is not fixed. It's not going to stay the same. It'll fluctuate with the market. A refinance can be adjustable, but is typically a fixed rate. I'm against using an adjustable mortgage for your first mortgage, but it sometimes is needed. Very rare is it a good choice. I personally don't do them. I have the capability. I just don't like them as a first mortgage because they're too risky. So keeping that in mind, home equity lines of credit can be a little risky if you take too much of your equity out. So the good parts and bad parts. A great part about regular refinances is the rate is typically fixed for a standard period of time. So you can have it for a 10-year mortgage, 15, 20, 25, 30-year mortgage. So that rate will not change that entire time. Sometimes it's a good idea to pull a little bit of equity out of your house and do a home equity line of credit. That means it's a line of credit so you can pull from it and pay it back off. So you can constantly pull from it. So in a way you can think of it is a credit card. You're paying interest every month. You can constantly pull it off and you can make minimum payments. Typically home equity line of credits, their minimum payment is whatever you borrow. For instance, if you have a balance of $20,000 on your home equity line of credit, typically your payment is only $200 a month. You can pay as much as you want and get rid of that $20,000. So if your limit is $20,000, but you only borrow $5,000, your payment is only $50 a month. Typically is how those work.
Right.
When
it's a great thing to have because you can, I mean, as things come up, it's like you're constantly getting access to your equity versus the refinancing where you're taking it out and using it all. This is kind of a rolling thing where you use it as you need it. It's a little security blanket.
Yeah, it's a great way to think of it. It's true because you have continual usage of it, whereas a refinance, you pretty much just pull that all out at one big lump sum, and you can't tap into it again. Sometimes it's a great way to go because you want to just consolidate everything to one low payment. Typically, if you're going to do that, you want to look at what those interest rates are. If you're consolidating on your loan versus doing a home equity line of credit. So when you do that, you want to look at what your interest rate is versus the debt that you're paying off as well. So if you have a car payment, let's just say it's only going to be a 5-year payment, but your interest rate on that is 10%, it would make sense sometimes then to pull out and refinance to pay that payment down to get rid of it with less interest. Sometimes it's not worth it. I see a lot of people who have car payments where their car payment might be $800 a month because they bought a very expensive vehicle, but the interest rate on that one, but the interest rate on that car loan is maybe 1% or 0%. I would never recommend folding that into your mortgage because now that loan is costing you money. So you have to think about what is my interest rate versus what is my overall goal. Too many times I think loan officers focus on, I saved my clients $200 a month or $1,000 a month because they consolidated all the debt. And that's great, but that's short-term thinking. I'm not in the family of the short-term thinking. When you consolidate all that debt, sure, you might free up money, but it is very typical that you will then now use that money for other things versus taking that same payment and paying off your loan. It can be great if you take what you were previously paying. If you're used to all of your debt comes to $1,000 a month, plus you have your mortgage payment. If you save that $1,000 a month, that $1,000 a month you should be putting into your house to pay it off sooner, because then you can make that 30-year loan a far shorter period. Or you should be taking and pulling that $1,000 a month and putting it in savings as a cushion. So unfortunately, when people don't do that, they'll spend that free money again. Right. And so that's the cycle. Is loan officers, unfortunately, I will say, a detriment to our society, our industry, is they don't also educate you on making sure that you're getting into the healthy habits of taking that money. I prefer you to put that $1,000 straight on that mortgage, so you don't have a mortgage anymore. Because once we don't have a mortgage payment, we have so much more freedom to do what we want to do in life. A home equity line of credit is great if you have repairs on your house to do. It's great to just pull out a little bit, do repair, put it back on, pay it off, pull it out a little bit at a time, pay it off. It's a more cost-effective way. You pay less in interest, even if it is adjustable, if you're constantly paying it back off quickly. Things happen, say your house floods, you got to replace a whole bunch of stuff. Insurance isn't going to cover all of it. It's nice to have that to tap into and already have it. I personally like credit unions for those. I think they have the best home equity line of credits. They typically have the least amount of fees, which I'm a big fan about, the least amount of fees. So I personally love credit unions for that. I think they have the best deals over the big banks, even over most lending institutions. They're going to have a home equity. I have the ability to do them, but I just send my clients to the credit union to do them because they're such great products. You're looking at, sometimes it's $250, $150 to do a home equity line of credit that you can keep pulling from again and again and again. And like you said, it's a nice little security blanket to be able to use.
Because you never know when, and usually things happen at once. Your hot water heater goes out, your dryer blows, your AC goes, things go out all at once. And you don't typically have that just set aside. This is my, in case everything goes wrong in my house fund.
Which would be great if that was another part of educating, like, okay, things are going to happen. You've got a month where you're not paying a mortgage payment. Take that payment, throw it in your account, get a cushion, get a little slush fund if something happens. And I think, as COVID has kind of proven, a lot of us are one paycheck away from having some financial hardships. It's very typical. So it's a good security blanket. It can help get you through some things, but it's also nice because you can pay it back. And now I can't remember if we talked about it's adjustable versus fixed.
Well, that the HELOC is adjustable.
Yes.
And then refinancing, I don't think we went too much into refinancing yet. That one is typically fixed. And then if you do need to a couple things with refinancing, you don't want to do that if you're getting ready to sell your house.
Oh no, that's the worst
down the road. That's a long term. So you buy your house and the interest rate was, 6% when you bought it, and now you can get it for 3%. Absolutely, it's worth it to refinance your house at that lower interest rate, because you can pull out the equity and get the better interest rate and still save monthly, most likely, and still get cash in pocket. So
as long as you're not going back to a 30-year again. And that's one thing is, if you've already been in your house 10 years, please don't go do a 30-year mortgage again. Put yourself in a 20-year mortgage, or 15, you'd get an even lower rate. It's just kind of, think about it. Your loan officer should have this dialogue with you. Talk to them. Hey, these are my plans. The loan officer will always ask you, hey, are you looking at selling your house in 2 years? If you're selling your house in 2 years, do not do this refinance. It's a waste of money. Because what would be better is get a home equity line of credit, do any of the repairs that you want, get the house ready to sell. And I always recommend, if you are about to sell your house or you're thinking about it, talk to a realtor so you don't go put repairs into the house that are not going to return any money for you. Don't
overspend when you don't need to, because there's a lot of factors. It's where your house is located, the market it's in, the price point that it's in, for what is going to, don't put, quartz countertops if you don't need to, or hardwood floors, or it really depends on the area and the price point, because you could spend way more than you need to. And you don't want to do that. Who wants to do that? So.
No, it's a waste of your money, and you want to have a higher profit. And it's one of those things that a house is something that should make you money in the long term. A house is great to buy for additional wealth and investment opportunities. There's tons of ways to get more than one house and have investment that can make you money. I love talking and teaching people how to do this. It's great. When you're doing it though, you've got to make sure that you're using it as like a 401k. Think of it as it's making you money. So you only want to put what you need to put into it that makes you the most money. Like she said, please don't go throw a $50,000 deck on your house. It's not going to give you $50,000 more of equity in your house. It doesn't mean that, well, I spent $50,000 on this house for a deck, so now my house is now worth $400,000 instead of $350,000. It's not how it works.
Right.
It's not tit for tat. And I've had a lot of clients say, well, I just put in this and I put in that. And it's just, you want to consult with a realtor. And honestly, whoever sold your house, keep talking to them and say, hey, I'm thinking about doing this. Is this a good idea? They'll give you, just throughout the whole time you own the house, keep talking to them and they'll tell you, oh no, that's not worth putting that much money into it. It won't add value to it. You think throwing a swimming pool is going to add a huge value on your house. It's not.
Right.
Things to really think about, just how are you going to take your hard-earned money and make it make you money? And that's really what real estate is for you. It's a place to live, but it's also a place it can be a great retirement as well, because again, you pay off your house and you can retire. Because if you don't have a mortgage or a rent payment and you only have your taxes and insurance on the house, which is more affordable, you get to actually enjoy life a little bit better than being stuck behind a desk or, underneath a car working or whatever it is that you're doing. It's a way to at least enjoy life a little bit more, is to not have those. You get a couple properties that bring you just positive cash flow. Life's good. You get a great fun time.
Yes.
So,
and hopefully you don't have too many COVID times where people can't pay the rent. And
yes, that's a whole nother story.
That's what's,
scary.
The downside.
It is the downside. And then there's also things that when you are a landlord, there are things to think about. Sometimes it is beneficial to have a property management company that will stay up to date on what all of the laws are, because there's a lot. And that's a whole nother full-time job on the side to make sure I have the laws up to date for my own rentals. It's a lot to think about.
I come from property management and it's constantly changing. There's stuff constantly changing. So you really, really have to keep up on all the laws.
A lot.
For sure.
A lot. But at the same time, don't be terrified of it. Because it's a lot of benefit and you can make a lot of money off of a house. Especially when you find one. I do this all the time. It's really it becomes an addiction to find these houses and fix them and get renters in there, and you're making money, and they get to live in a place that, I have a lot of clients that, I may rent to someone that typically would not be rented to, because I know that they just don't fit the box that needs to be done, but I know they pay their rent on time. So I'll rent to them. It's a great way to help other people too.
Absolutely.
Help family members, and you get a little extra in your pocket. But home equity line of credit versus a refinance, not always the best idea to do a refinance. Again, don't go from a 30-year mortgage that you've been in 10 years and go to another 30-year mortgage. Please don't. You have different loan terms that you can do. If you're looking at just bringing out some money here and there, please go to your credit unions and get home equity lines of credit. They're really fast. You don't always have to have an appraisal. You actually don't always have to have an appraisal on a refinance too, which is kind of nice. And that can save you a little bit of money. But as far as the most bang for your buck, a home equity line of credit will give you the most money out of your house, just to do things to fix up the house. Or if there's an emergency and a medical emergency and you need some money quick, having that home equity line of credit is a great way to just pull it from it, pay it, and then slowly pay it back.
In refinancing, it's like you're purchasing, basically you're having to do closing costs, basically. You have that. And then it goes through the timeline too. It takes time to process everything and get everything through. So depending on what time frame you're looking at is another factor as well.
Well, and that's a really good point too. a lot of the refinances for typical mortgage industry right now is we're at about 60 days for a refinance, whether it's a cash out or rate and term. And that just comes down to sheer volume coming through, and our staff, and this is everywhere, our staff are exhausted. They've been going nonstop since February. It has been just a refinance boom. And it's taken its toll. So the timeframes are just outlandish. They're longer. There's not much you can do about that. If you're looking at a home equity line of credit, they're a little bit faster. You might be able to get it in 30 days. I know that, my typical gal at the credit union, she's been turning them out in 2 weeks. So it can go a lot faster. But it's also something to think about. Hey, I've got a couple of repairs in my house. It might be a good time just start it. You don't even have to pull money from it. You just have it sitting there and ready to use when you need it. But don't wait until it's like, okay, well, this just blew out. Now I need it. Sometimes it's nice to have that there if you want to pull it out. I know that big banks and even credit unions on their mortgage refinances, there's, I believe it was Wells Fargo, I was hearing someone said they're 6 months out.
Wow.
I don't know if that's still the case, but I had one client come to me and they said it was 6 months just to get Wells Fargo. Bank of America has a lot longer turn times as well. And again, it just comes down to the sheer volume. There's just not enough people in our industry who can enough support staff to actually make the files go through. Because it's when you have a loan, it's not just one person that works on it.
Right.
You've got your loan officer, you've got the appraiser, you've got the title, you've got the escrow, you've got the escrow assistant, you've got your appraiser, you've got your payoff department, you've got the credit department, credit report, then you've got closing department, post-closing, shipping. I mean, there's underwriting. There's probably, I would say, at least 15 different people that need to touch your file and work on it in some form or another to make a refinance go through. So now you take that sheer amount of volume, it adds up. Yeah. Insurance agent, that's the other one. I mean, there's a lot of people to make a file go through. So it's not just your loan officer gets the file and that's the only person working on it. There's so many people that have to make it go through. Same thing on the home equity line of credits. They have less that they have required documentation for those. Right. So they don't need as many people involved. It makes it go a lot faster. A lot of the times, especially the credit union, whoever does your equity can also sign you. They're usually notaries and they can sign you, and there's no conflict of interest to do that. The way those home equity lines of credit are set up versus a refinance. I can't notarize you. So there's just more people involved, which means more fees. Yeah. All right. I think that's covers it. It's a lot. We always do that. We end up going on and on about it, and but hopefully it's not cut and dry. There's so much to every particular thing. Yeah. Yep. One, and it's, I think people tend to just go to refinance because they want to pull the equity out, and maybe they don't even think about a HELOC. And it's just important to have the information. But ultimately, this video could have been summed up and done in if you're looking to refinance, want to pull your equity out, then call a mortgage broker and go over your options. Yeah. Well, yeah, I would, but I mean, I would also call multiple loan officers, and I would hope all my loan officer friends and colleagues would do the same thing and give you the honest opinion of, look, I actually think it's not a good time to refinance. And I say that to a lot of my clients. It's not a good time. It doesn't make sense. Please just go get a home equity line of credit. It makes more sense. Yeah. And you should be also evaluating why you want to do a refinance. Tell your loan officer, because if they know you're going to be selling it in 2 years, they're going to say, don't do it. Just go get an equity, hold on. Or maybe you want to sell it now. You might be ready now to sell it versus the 2 years. Why are you wanting to wait? What are the reasonings? Have that dialogue, but and push your loan officer to have that dialogue with you. And if they don't want to have that dialogue, dial another loan officer that will maybe have that dialogue, because you need to have that conversation. Yeah. It's always, what is the purpose? Mm-hmm. But and your home is your, one of your greatest investments, and you want to make sure you're using it wisely and making good choices so that it's helping you in the best possible way and not hurting you.
So you have to go through your options and what is best. I mean, take care of yourself. You work hard to buy a house, protect it and protect your money, and yeah, make the right choices by doing research, for sure.
Lots of research.
Talking
And
to the right
again,
people.
talk to the right people, talk to your realtor. I'm a big proponent of, even if you want to do a refinance, call up your realtor and talk to them as well, because they will give you more honest feedback on that than, I hate to say, some of my colleagues will. And it's good. And they're going to know someone that they trust, that know they're going to do it for your best interest. And that's what you have to look out. Is it in your best interest to refinance?
Right.
And the other thing is, when you do a refinance, there are no less than 25 different ways we could set up your refinance, depending on what your goals are.
Right.
It's good to have those options and dialogue about it.
Yes, exactly. All right, Angela, I think that's a wrap on our Thursday chat. I appreciate you and all of your insights and knowledge. Of course, yet again, I don't know what we're going to be talking about next week. We'll have to figure that out.
We don't know. We'd love suggestions.
We would love some ideas and suggestions. And what do you want to know about? What would help, you in selling, buying, whatever the case may be.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we'll talk about non-real estate stuff too. Hey?
Oh yeah, you name it. We'll talk about it.
All right. We'll talk to you later. Thanks for tuning in.
Bye.
Bye.